GNC-554. It's Tuesday, February 23rd, and you're listening to the Geek News Central Podcast, sponsored by GoDaddy.com. Geek News Central is a prominent of the Tech Podcast Network. Yes, I'm back in Honolulu. Got a great show for you, and really, there's some great topics tonight. Strap in. Here it comes.
All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We're go fly.
Microphones.
We're go fly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
Go.
RSS data stream aggregator.
Go fly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right, I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Button, who's got the button?
4,
There is no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Aloha and welcome to the Geek News Central Podcast, coming to you as live as it can be from the beautiful state of Hawaii overlooking Greater Oahu. Hey everyone, welcome to the show again. My name is Todd Cochran. Make sure you get over to geeknewscentral.com. Check out all the great content over there. Of course, check out our archive podcast available via the podcast link on the website. I want to welcome all the new listeners to the show. And as I see from our statistics system, we are continuing to see a great growth week to week for the show right now. So I'm really pleased with that. So welcome all the new listeners. Of course, welcome to all of the longtime listeners. Welcome to the Ohana. Welcome to the Geek News Central podcast. Welcome back, folks. Well, I tell you, I made a couple of changes here in the studio. And part of it is to do with we had lost 2 recordings in recent months since I had switched to Firewire, feeding the basically the recording computer with a Firewire connection. So tonight I'm back on analog. I'm feeding it directly via analog, and we'll see how the recording turns out tonight. Of course, many of you listened on, I believe, show 552 at 1 hour and 3 minutes when the show got kind of funny. So hopefully we won't have that funniness going on again on this show. As well, tonight I'm trying a new experiment. For the very first time, we haven't tried this in actually 4 years, because 4 years ago it just didn't work. But tonight I have Dragon Naturally Speaking hooked up to a audio output on the mixer. I've got it in dictation mode. And we'll see how well it does over the next hour and 15 minutes while I'm recording the show, whether or not the content from that recording or from that dictation is going to be good enough to embed essentially as the script of the show, or a translation or transcript of the show. I guess that's for the best word for it. So I look forward to giving that a try and seeing how that comes out. And if it comes out good, I'll be dumping this up on the website. There'll be a link there that believe me, it's not going to be fancy. It's just going to be one continuous transcript of whatever this thing does, because I'm not going to be doing a bunch of, well, how should I say, fixing of the translation. So we'll see how it works out at the end. Of course, if I use a lot of Toddisms tonight, I'm sure that the software will have a hard time detecting those and probably right into the software, word unrecognized. I'm sure there'll be a few moments of that. But I want to welcome listeners from 163 countries worldwide to the Geek News Central podcast. And, of course, again, if you're new, I want to encourage you to sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter contains everything that I'm going to talk about tonight, including content that's been sent in by listeners like you. And it'll contain, again, all those links, all those the back data information. And that's sent out immediately following the show, so that if you're listening, if you're driving or maybe miss a show, don't worry. You'll get the newsletter and you'll be able to get a link, or actually the access to every content link of every article I cover tonight. What else have I got on my list here? Oh, of course. Hey, sign up for the show. Subscribe to the show. You can do that via iTunes, via Zune Marketplace, or use your favorite software package within your mobile device to get the show automatically. The feed is available, of course, up at Geek News Central. You'll see a orange box up there that'll basically say podcast, videocast, or video and special media feeds. Subscribe to all 3 via iTunes. That way you won't miss any content whatsoever, ever, for a better word. Lots of planning going on for NAB, and my team is working on that. So I'm pretty excited about that event. I haven't fully decided if I'm actually going to be one of the people going out to Vegas. There's some things going on here that may require me to be home with my lovely wife, but everything is a go for my team going out to Vegas for NAB, so we look forward to that. Of course, I just got back from Texas, and that was kind of a, for a better word, an adventure. I flew out of Dallas mid-morning, landed in Los Angeles, and immediately went to because I don't really pay attention anymore to. I know that I have to be at some gate somewhere, and I usually know a flight number. So I went to the monitor to look at when my next departure was, and I saw Honolulu, 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 and beside every one of the Honolulu entries was delayed, delayed, delayed. And I know that one of the flights was supposed to have left at 10:30 in the morning, and it was already 2:30, and it was saying it was a departure at 6 p.m. My flight was leaving at 4:30 in the afternoon, and they said they'd have an update at 4:08, whichever, weird time for an update. So I immediately got on the phone and called United, and I said, "Listen, what's going on?" And I lucky enough I'm able to call in on the 1K desk to get pretty quick access to an agent. She says, "Honey," she says, "got plans for LA tonight?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." I said, "But there's a flight that hasn't left that was supposed to leave this morning." I says, "Is there any chance of getting on that flight?" And she says, "That flight's been delayed already like 4 hours." She says, "Chance of you getting on that are slim to none, but let me look." And she looks in the computer, and of course, luck would have it, Lady Luck was looking upon me. There was one seat left. Or actually, one seat in first class. I had already had an upgrade, so she said, "I can put you right up in first class." She says, "There's even some seats back in coach." And she says, "If you run into any of the people if you're flying with anybody, make sure they call in and get their, try to get a seat reserved on this flight that's leaving at 6 p.m. if your flight doesn't go at 4:30. So at 4:08, sure enough, they said the delay was going to be 7 p.m. for the next announcement, not even an official flight time. And I would have stayed a couple extra hours in LA. I could have got some extra work done. But got on the flight at 6 o'clock and got home pretty late here in Honolulu. But as I was getting off the flight and coming down into the baggage claim, I saw that the flight that I was supposed to be on wasn't arriving until 11 a.m. Saturday, which would have really thrown a loophole in our roundtable, because at 11 a.m. Saturday here in Honolulu, I started our 57th, I think, Tech Podcast Roundtable. We had the folks on from Nuance, Dragon, Naturally Speaking, and of course, I'm using that software tonight, but I'd actually gotten that way back in CES and hadn't had a chance to use it. In this presentation by them really made it a motivating factor for me to try Dragon, Naturally Speaking. So it's back there crunching away. We'll see how it does at the end. Those of you on Ustream, of course, we can talk about that at the end of the show. I'll give you an update on how it did. Andy McCaskey had a good article on social networking. He went to a conference down in Tampa. He had some takeaways that he shared with us. I talked about techpodcast.tv and some of the cool things we've got going on. And there's some news today about some of the set-top boxes. We'll be talking about that a little later in the show. Of course, I got some more videos put up online. And make sure you just, follow along on Blip or YouTube, wherever it may be. And, of course, I want to take care of the sponsors here in a moment. But I do want to make a comment. On the last show, I had I noticed a Twitter from somebody that I didn't recognize. Let me take a shot of water here. And linked over to his website. And basically it was an article that just absolutely tore me up and one side down the other from my last show, being in Texas, complaining about, "Okay, Todd, you got this beautiful studio in Hawaii, and why are you doing recording on substandard equipment in a hotel in Texas?" Well, you guys all know, when I travel, I record the show. No matter where I at, the show goes on the road. The equipment that I use to record the show on the road, with all of the audio equipment, is almost exactly the same as what's here in Honolulu, minus a microphone and a couple of other devices, but it's generally about the same equipment. Now, the camera setup is obviously not the same. Here in Hawaii, I've got a couple of nice HD cameras. We've got some point tilt zoom cameras. I can't carry all that, so when I'm on the road, I use a little webcam. And you know what? It does the purpose for what the video portion of the show is allowed to do. Obviously, it's very nice to be able to switch here between different cameras when I'm at home and have different views. But you know what? that's, such a small, minime portion of the audience that watches the video. All of you guys are here for the audio. Another thing he was doing, he was complaining about our incident we had with our the individual that ordered pizzas. Was complaining about me complaining about that guy, and actually talking about how I was banning some people in chat because they were using that name. And in all honesty, I think you guys know, and I try to take these type of comments with a grain of salt, and I know that everyone has an opinion about the show. Believe me, geeknews@gmail.com. geeknews@gmail.com. If you have comments on the show, email me. I read every comment in the show. Voicemail hotline +1 619 342 7365. Call into the show and leave your comment. Okay? If you have an issue, I'm always here to listen, and I'm always willing to share that view with the audience members, and then you guys can debate the pros and cons on whether that individual is right or wrong. As I've always said, 554 shows that I've been doing. Very rarely do I miss a show. I'm not going to miss a show by traveling. If I did, I'd probably miss 10, 15 shows a year, and that just is not acceptable to me and to all of you. And if the format hasn't changed in the show, which is another thing he complained about, oh well, I'm still podcasting. How many of the shows that started in 2004 are still podcasting today? The format of the show has stayed the same because it works. It continues to draw new listeners. People don't leave the show. If they do, it's very rare, and sometimes it's because of the length. I know the show's long. So it is what it is. I love all of you guys. Everyone is a fan. I'm a fan of you. We're all family here, right? And everyone's allowed their opinion, and it's cool, but the show is what it is. And if you guys think I need to make a change, you're going to be the first ones to tell me to make a change. And until then, we're going to keep on rock and rolling. If the numbers start diving, if I start losing listeners by hundreds and thousands, then you know what? I may have to sit back and go, okay, what am I doing? And what am I doing wrong? And really doing a reassessment. But that is not the case at this point. So we're going to keep on moving forward, and it's just it is what it is. And, hey, I love your comments, okay? Don't get me wrong, but boy, call me. If you want to blog about it, fine. Any press is good press. I bet you we got new listeners because of that blog post. So it's all good. Go ahead, bash away. Love you anyway. All right, so anyway, what else have I got for you here? My little list. I'm sorry I'm ranting. I shouldn't do that. That's whining, right? Okay. Jeffrey says in the chat room, he says, if he wants better video, then he should pay for the shipping of the equipment. You're right. You're right. It's just you can't hump all this stuff. You can't. Impossible. Can you imagine the maid coming into my room every place I went for 2 or 3 days and seeing, 2 or 3 cameras and some lights and, I live in Hawaii, dude. Going anywhere is, not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, so, oh, yeah, that's right. That's right, Michael. Want some cheese with that wine? I love you, too. So the folks in the chat room here are having fun with me. Okay, let me go ahead and take care of a little business here. Hey, GoDaddy.com. Really? Do I need to say any more? Domain names, dedicated servers, virtual dedicated servers, shared hosting accounts. The best in the business. They really, really are. And I picked up some cool domains on a domain auction the other day. If you guys are looking for domains, I got 2 great ones for $10 each. Just did a little keyword search. Oh, those are good. Put my little bid in. $10. They're mine. So check out the GoDaddy Go Domain Auctions. Check out all their other great products and services. When you get to that checkout counter, don't forget your geek here at Geek News Central, because you're going to save a lot of money by using my promo codes, which I hope you're sharing with friends, family members, people you know, coworkers, putting them on poster boards on, in grocery stores, wherever you want to share my codes. Feel free. It's what keeps the light on. Okay, Todd will save you 10%. TODD will save you 10% on non-domain orders. Geek5 will save you 15% on orders $20 or more. Todd20 will save you 20% on a 1-year shared hosting account. Of course, ComSale will get you .coms at $7.49, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on renewals and new purchases. So thanks for GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here at Geek News Central. You know, we all have to meet with clients and colleagues face to face sometimes. All right, it just you have to, but you don't always have to. Sometimes you can do that meeting online. Problem is also that you may have a tighter budget this year. Business of traveling is expensive and time consuming. So, I recommend doing more by traveling less, by holding meetings online with GoToMeeting for just $49 a month. Okay, for just $49 a month, you can hold as many online meetings as you want. It's so easy. You'll have your first meeting running in seconds. I use GoToMeeting all the time to collaborate with my colleagues and clients. It saves me time and money. I told you about leaving GoToMeeting session open, people coming in and out just like it's a regular business meeting all day long with colleagues and people that I know. You can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. You can do that by visiting gotomeeting.com/techpodcast. That's gotomeeting.com/techpodcast for a free 30-day trial. Okay, let me see here. What have I got in my stack here? I think I'm good on my list. And fighting a little bit of cottonmouth tonight for some reason. That is always not good. So I'm very quickly going through a glass of water. So we'll try to keep the whistle wet here. All right, I'm already running long. Let me go ahead and get into the comments tonight. Start out with the first thing. All right, Windows 7, Windows users. Boy, oh boy. You guys remember there was an article that I talked about in the show. Maybe it was about a week ago. Oh, so it wasn't too long ago. It was an article about Windows 7 computers using a lot more RAM. And it was actually draining RAM faster than other operating systems. Well, apparently, this individual by the name of Craig Barth, who was actually an alias of another individual, was running a company called Devil Mountain Software. It was the website which basically was purporting all of this research. And this research has been coming out of them for a while, but it's been kind of hokey. Well, apparently, this individual was actually an InfoWorld editor under a different name. And this guy's real name is Randall Kennedy. And he's been writing articles for InfoWorld for a long time. He was fired by InfoWorld over basically having this alias and posting these cross articles that he was supporting in write-ups. And can you believe this? This guy is basically running a company doing, I guess, suspect research on Windows products, and then it makes it into the same publication that he is writing for. Wow, that's pretty amazing. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal today, Kennedy insisted that InfoWorld had known about his anonymous name or his pseudonym for a year and did nothing, while InfoWorld editor-in-chief Eric Connor said that that simply wasn't true. Kennedy told me the same thing when I interviewed him, but I'm not going to step into the middle of he said, she said debate. Nobody wins here. So a lot of finger-pointing going on. But anyway, InfoWorld has rid themselves of Mr. Kennedy's contributions over there and removed many of his article from InfoWorld. So this is pretty damaging for this individual, and we'll see what happens with this in the future. But Windows has a hard enough time as it is. With the Apple MacBoy fans and all the other stuff that goes on with release dates and all the stuff that happens with Windows and the controversy surrounding it. And then you got this guy telling basically the whole world that Windows 7's a resource hog. It's just simply not true. And I'm running Windows 7 on multiple machines and not seeing at all the same thing. Hey, there's an article over in GigaOM talking about the battle of status updates. And this is kind of interesting. There is a metric right now that's saying a lot of people are spending as much time on Facebook as they're spending on the web. And those times are getting very close to even. While at the same time, Twitter today disclosed that there's nearly 50 million tweets going on per day. And on Facebook, there's nearly 60 million updates. So there's done some comparison here on updating and tweeting, and a lot of that is duplicated. A lot of people are, basically anytime they tweet, there's an update that goes to their Facebook page. and so forth. I know I just did it when I announced the show tonight. I did that in one full swoop. I basically tweeted and Facebooked at the same time. But with Twitter not reporting its users numbers, and with the estimation being that there's close to 400 million global users of the application, where there is a tremendous greater number of people using Facebook. There is this head-to-head competition going on, and also the amount of people that are actually, how much time people are actually spending surfing the net versus being on these two sites. So what do you guys feel that you find your split is? Do you keep Facebook and Twitter in their own tabs at all times and then surf the net and flip back to them? What do you guys do? Love to hear your feedback on that. But there is a battle going on here for the hearts and minds. And, of course, again, with Twitter hitting 50 million posts per day, that's 600 tweets per second. That's just remarkable. It really, really is. And, again, also it's up 35 million from the end of last year, a growth of 1,400%. So, really, Twitter is not slowing down. And matter of fact, Andy had made that assertion during the roundtable on Saturday, and I kind of said, no, Andy, I don't think Twitter's slowing down at all. But his data had showed that. But this data is kind of reverts back to my thought that Twitter is continuing to grow just as Facebook is, but maybe not as a faster rate. Hey, Scoble's got an article here. You guys remember we had this big kick a couple years ago, maybe 2005, 2006, over Second Life? How many of you have forgotten Second Life? How many of you pay your Second Life membership every year but haven't been on in a year? I know I paid my $75 membership and I still have land on Second Life, and I haven't been on. Well, I was on there once like 6 months ago, and I think there was a bunch of adult themed stuff around my property. But it appears Second Life may have actually getting its second life. And there's a resurgence of people going in. There's a lot of updates going in. A lot of updates going into the back end. And what's happened with Second Life? Are you guys using it? Are you guys spending any time there? And I know that I had one time invested pretty heavily going in there a lot, and we've done some cool stuff social media wise there. But it never really panned out to be a great tool to do that. It reached onesie twosies of people, never hundreds and thousands like we expected. And it's just one of those things, you toss an idea up on the wall and see if it worked. And and there's a number of you that are still spending a lot of time in Second Life. But love to hear what you guys are doing if you're not doing anything in Second Life, or if you've just completely walked away from it. Article over on Dave Weiner's site, When to Be Worried. And this alludes to probably my sentiments on an article I wrote on Geek News Central while waiting for an airplane. It's basically Dave's article is entitled, When Big Pieces of Our Culture Flew Through One Company's Servers, and when suddenly that company takes an interest in the ideas that are expressed in that culture by shutting off certain ideas without explanation, without answering question. And when that company shuts off alternate channels for that culture to flow with nonsense like they're being open, that's when it's probably beginning to be too late to be worried. And what he's referring to is the absolute insanity that's going on over at Apple. They have lost their minds. Now, I'm going to pick up my iPhone, and I can probably, within about 15 seconds, if I so desired, go to some sort of an adult site. And I'm not saying that I'm going to, but I could. Okay, that's in Safari. All right? I can very easily go to something. All right? Now, over the weekend, and part of earlier last week, Apple decides to throw on the morality police and start removing applications that are not even X or R. They're just women in bikinis and men in bathing suits. Now, Sports Illustrated app is still online. The Playboy app is still online, and I can almost guarantee you're going to see more there than swimsuits. And some of the Sports Illustrated stuff is almost wow. Well, they are removing anything that shows any skin whatsoever. Over 5,000 apps have been removed from the App Store. And of course, they say if the woman's wearing an Afghan burqa, that's going to be okay. That'll be approved because you're not showing any skin. But if someone has a fitness site and they're wearing a fitness leotard, guess what? Banned. If they're a shopping site and they're trying to sell swimsuits, banned. Now, I'm not here to preach morality to no one. What someone does with their phone, with their computer, in their own home is their own business. I've never purchased a swimsuit app. I've never purchased an adult app. But if I wanted to, I should have the right to do so. Now, Apple has said, no, you will not do that. We are not going to allow it. It is very scary when a company decides to impose morality on all of us, especially when there's an adult feature in the phone. So the question is, why I may not agree with some of the content that's been removed, where do we live? I live in Hawaii, part of the 50 United States of America, where there is freedom to do just about anything you want. Sometimes some people say we have too much freedom, but Apple says no men showing chest hair and no women in bikinis. If the men are wearing a coat and tie and the women are wearing Afghan burqas, that's okay. Maybe I'm a little extreme. I'm sorry, but I think it's too late. I think they're, the horses have already left the barn, or whatever that saying may be. And I agree with Dave. This is probably too late to be worried, but it is very scary. What are they going to start banning next? Religious applications? Are they going to start banning games, cartoons, thinking it is, impeding child education? I'm sorry. I think Apple has went way, way too far. What do you think? Love to hear comments. geeknews@gmail.com. Voicemail hotline 619-342-7365. It is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And by the way, if your teenager has a phone, he can get on Safari and go to whatever he wants to go. There's nothing stopping him from going. Even if you impose some adult thing, he can still put in there or she can put in there whatever they want. They can still take a picture of themselves and they can MMS message that to their friends. Where's the outrage? I'm hearing very little of it on the internet today. Where is the outrage? Maybe I'm barking up a wrong tree here. Love to hear your feelings. Whether or not you agree with the apps or not, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's get on to something more technical. You guys know I send you a newsletter, right, after every show? Well, my good friend over at masternewmedia.org has a great article on how to create and design and deliver your email newsletter. And there is a talent to this. My talent is just copy, paste, put in the to address, set the right HTML encoding, hit send. And sometimes I forget to do that. But a great article here on how to really design and deliver your email newsletter. And you can really have a big, this app is driving me nuts here. The Windows Home Server is complaining that it has a little bit of an issue. And it wants to remind me every 15 seconds. You guys hear that pop in there? I can fix that real quick. Hang on. We won't hear that now. Anyway, the Robin Good over at Master News Media has this how to create, design, and deliver your email newsletter. Link will be up in the show notes. Good article on readwriteweb.com talking about the truth about mobile application stores. And at the recent Mobile World Congress 2010, Dutch app store analytics firm Distimo presented their findings on the 6 largest mobile application stores in existence today, comparing to iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, Google Android Market, Nokia Ovi Store, Palm App Catalog, and Windows Marketplace for mobile. and they analyze everything, including store size, store growth, and so forth. And by the way, I want to congratulate my sister. Fellas, you're going to be very proud. Those of you that are Droid users. My sister went Droid today. She bought herself an Android phone. I don't know which one. But she resisted the temptation to come over to the dark side, like most of us, and she is a Droid user now. So she's asking me about Droid apps. So you guys going to help me point her in the right direction on what to download and put on her phone? I want to hear those comments, geeknews@gmail.com. But anyway, let's go into free versus paid. Kind of an interesting development here. Between Apple, BlackBerry, Nokia, and Windows, the ratio between free versus paid is very close. Almost 75% paid, 25% free. Where the real big delta is on Android, where 57% is free and 43% are paid. So that gives you a little bit of a comparison here. Average price paid for all apps. Apple $3.62, BlackBerry $8.26, Android $327, Obi $347, Palm $253, and Microsoft $699. And of course, you know who's the winner in size, store size. And when this sampling was done at the time, Apple had 150,000 apps, BlackBerry 4756, Android 19897, Nokia 6118. Palm 1452 and Windows 693. Here's something to think about. If you're an app developer and you build a good one, looking at the amount of money that's paid for the average app on the on Windows Mobile, $699 compared to Apple's $362, might be some more money to be made there. But anyway, I have this link up in the show notes. You guys can check it out, all the gory details. But who do you guys think is the most trusted and recommended brand in the United States today? What if I told you Amazon is that company? What if I told you FedEx is behind it? Downy, number 3. Huggies, number 4. 5 is Tide. And you know, I hate to say it, Tide is one of the worst, at least some of their, I better be careful here. In my opinion, Tide is one of the worst laundry detergents you can buy for ecological purposes, in my opinion. 6 is Tylenol. 7 is Toyota still. Well, they're the most. I wonder when this survey was done. Number 8 is WebMD. Wow, that's interesting. Number 9 is Pampers, and number 10 is the United Parcel Service, or UPS. Go Brown. So anyway, these are a survey that was done by MillerWardBrown.com. Have a link up in the show notes for you to check out. And what do you guys think? Think they fall out right? Hey, over on Download Squad at downloadsquad.com, new plugin for HTML5 video for Internet Explorer. Very, very cool. HTML5's coming, folks. It's exciting. I can't wait for it to be implemented across all browsers. So anyway, this plugin is going to be able to detect HTML5 videos that are formatted in the OGG format. It will not detect MP4 files, sadly. This is strictly an OGG codec plugin for Internet Explorer. And I hate to say it, while I know many of you love OGG with video, 2 thumbs down. And somebody show me a encoding of an OGG that is better than an MP4 and the same footprint and the same everything, you know, basically frame rate size, then we'll talk. But right now, I'm not impressed with the OGG form. You know, it's great, it's open source, but it just, the quality is not there. It really, really isn't. All right, Gears adopters are facing a tough transition as Google goes to HTML5. Of course, last week, Google announced that they're going to be transitioning to HTML5 in Gears, and a lot of the developers that have been using Gears, such as iStock Photo, some folks, some WordPress stuff, Zoho, are working behind the scenes to discontinue Gears and get on the HTML5 bandwagon here. So we'll see what happens with this. But I tell you, HTML5 is right around the corner. Apple has been pitching networks on lower prices for TV shows. Now, I don't normally, and I don't think I ever have, in fact, purchased a syndicated television show to watch. we're recording everything we can on the DVR. If I miss it, then I catch it on a rerun. But Apple wants the TV networks to reduce their pricing from $1.99 to 99 cents. And I'm sure that excites many of you. But so far, obviously, they're running into a lot of resistance. And it's not surprising that they are. But this is the goal that Apple has right now, to get it down to a more reasonable price, and we'll see if it happens. Let me go ahead and post this next one up on Ustream. I actually forgotten to flip these over for you. Next article talks about Firefox testing on Android. And I don't know where they found this little tester at, but they've got an application out there that allows you to actually run your websites in a variety of different browsers. If you guys have found that app or you know what that app is, let me know. Again, it's an app that allows you to simulate either an iPhone, an Android, or so forth. So let me know. But they're running the Firefox plugin, and they got a pretty good write-up on this over here on arstechnica.com. I'll have that link up for you in the show notes. So pretty exciting stuff. And those of you that have an Android phone, are you guys playing with this Firefox port or not? Have you guys have messed with this yet? Now, many times when there's stuff on the internet that you go to download, you want to be careful of it, because you never know if it's got a virus payload. You always want to scan stuff before you use it. But there's a new tool out, and you can find it at virustotal.com. It's a free, but to me, and I went over and played with it, pretty doggone good antivirus scanner. It actually uses 40 different antivirus scanners, and basically you can upload a file with the VirusTotal Uploader utility. You send it up there, they do a real quick check on it, and then over 40 products will look at the file to make sure that it isn't contain a virus or malware and so forth, or some sort of payload, and then it provides results back. And this is pretty cool, because often not, your particular antivirus software may miss something where another one won't. No single antivirus program is perfect. But if you're a little bit worried about a file and it's under 20 megs, you can send it to them, and they'll scan it for you. I think this is pretty cool. virustotal.com. How many of you got a Windows Media Center on your computer? How many of you got Windows Media Center hooked up to a television? Hey, did you know you could add a Boxee or Hulu desktop launcher to Windows Media Center? Well, the folks over at eHome Upgrade have the instructions on how to do that. Click, click, click. It's real easy to do. And for those of you that have Windows Media Center, this is going to be a great tool for you. Hey, you're going to want to, if you're not playing with Boxee yet, you're going to want to play with it, because the Boxee box by D-Link, which is going to be released soon under a price of $200, is going to be the box you're going to want to buy. There we go. I got rid of that thing, and hopefully it won't be popping at me no more. I thought I got rid of that noise, but I was still hearing it. But anyway, Windows Media Center, add Boxee or Hulu desktop launcher to your Windows Media Center, and start playing around on Boxee, and let me know what you think about the cool apps over there. Let me know which one you think are the best, because we're going to start talking about set-top boxes a lot more here in the near future. All right, Federal Trade Commission is warning 100 organizations about leaked data via peer-to-peer, and goes on to say the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has notified nearly 100 organizations that data from the networks has been found on peer-to-peer file sharing networks, and this was released by them on Monday. The FTC notice went to private and public entities, including schools and local government agencies and organizations with as few as 8 employees to as many as tens of thousands, the FTC said in a statement. Moving on, there's a good article over here on IBT, and for those of you up in Canada, you'll be interested in this. The International Olympic Committee has ordered a blogger to remove a video showing the death of the Georgian luger sleddler who died from the website. But apparently the website is coming back and saying no. Underneath Canadian law, It's not a copyright violation to have something up that's newsworthy. So there's a big battle going on over this, and I have no idea where this is at, and I have no desire to go watch the video. But it's another big true test, another big battlefront for the folks between IOC and different bloggers out there. Next up over on EE Times, and this is a really super techie thing here, and this is for the geeks out there. You know, transistors have really changed really everything that we do. The invention of the transistor, and of course the miniaturization of it, and you know what you have in your computer today, with millions and millions of transistors, would not have been possible without great science advancements, over the past 50 years. But in London, in a move that could revolutionize nanoelectronics manufacturing in the semiconductor industry, scientists in a company called the Tyndall National Institute in Cork, Ireland, have designed and fabricated what they claim is the world's first, now check this out, junctionless transistor. And for those of you who know anything about transistors, about standard PNP or NPN notation, this is huge. And it could really make an impact in making transistors less power hungry, which then in turn makes them cooler. So we'll see what happens with this, because Moore's law is set for another repeat here, and we got to continue to cram more transistors on a CPU, and this may be the next way forward on this. But junctionless transistors could definitely simplify the chip making in a big way. Now, there's a lot of discussion going on over this ACTA. And I don't know, what does ACTA stand for? Let's see if I can, it's an acronym for, well, what this is revolving about is there is discussions going on with a number of nations to come up with a copyright, I think it's actually copyright ACTA. Gosh, I'm horrible. I don't know what this is. Someone in the chat room help me out here. Anyway, on the ACTA's, some of their documents have been leaked, and some of these negotiations that the United States has been having with with organizations throughout the world or different countries. And it's basically laying out safe harbor rules. It's laying out copyright enforcement. And the folks over at TechDirt have done a real good job talking about the good, bad, and the ugly of this thing, and what's going on in some of the language in it. Specifically, only one chapter of it, specifically Article 2.17, talking about enforcement procedures in the digital environment, talking about they don't even talk about a three strike type of process. It's basically talking about cutting people off the internet and enforcement rights, and there's a lot of scary stuff here going on, which in turn could affect some U.S. law. Would have to actually be changed if the United States become a signatory to this, which I think they will be, being that they're the driving force behind it. It just makes me wonder, why can't countries just have their own copyright thing? Why do we have to have this, like this New World Order document that sets the rules for everybody? I don't get it. I really don't. And I feel like a dummy here not knowing what ACTA means, but we've talked about this on previous shows, and I'll have the link up from the show notes for you to check out. All right, UK newspapers demand that the BBC iPhone app be blocked because it's too competitive. Huh? UK newspapers demand that the BBC iPhone app be blocked because it's too competitive. Isn't, if I remember correctly, those of you that live in the UK, don't you pay a yearly license fee to get content from the BBC? And yet news publications have been complaining about the BBC, saying that they have an unfair advantage. Wasn't that part of the process that you guys decided on before? Newspapers are basically admitting that they're clueless here to compete in the marketplace. And of course the BBC is publicly funded, but again, it's just, like the folks at TechDirt say, it's just one publication. And okay, those of you that live in the UK, don't take this the wrong way. And you guys probably think our TV sucks, but the BBC at times can be a little dry. It really can. There can be times it can be just a little dry. So I don't know why the newspapers over there are having such an issue competing with them. Somebody clue me in here. Is that is that the situation? Is the Register over there having issues competing with the BBC and their iPhone app? I read the Register, and it's definitely a different take than what the BBC is. That's for sure. All right, speaking of apps, NASA has released the Lunar Rover iPhone game. So if you've got a couple of kids in the house that are, doing wanting to have something a little educational to do on the iPhone, hey, this is a cool one. When my son says, "Hey, Dad, can I use your phone? Can I play?" I'll say, "Hey, here you go. You can cruise the lunar surface with the rover, with the lunar rover." And that I haven't downloaded it yet, but I'm going to. So this is an educational iPhone app by NASA. So this is pretty cool. And NASA's been on the forefront of new media, on the forefront of being able to create great apps like this in education purpose and science. I think it's very good. Great way to stimulate the brain. Of course, over the weekend, Endeavour landed in Florida on Sunday night for a rare Sunday landing. I missed it. Wasn't paying attention and kind of lost track of what day the shuttle was coming back. But the shuttle is safely back at the Kennedy Space Center, arriving at 10:20 p.m. Sunday. And so good to go. They're back. And, of course, we're looking for another launch. I guess, what do we say, in April for the next shuttle launch to the International Space Station. Now, this should not come as a surprise. For years, since the truck industry was really founded, you've heard about stories about gangs of people, robbing trucks that were loaded with cigarettes or electronic gear. But today, most of these trucks are on the highway have their shipments tracked via GPS. And there's this in onboard tracking system that sends data back to home plate. But apparently the thieves have gotten smart. And what they're doing is when they hijack a truck, they don't even bother turning the GPS systems off. They just jam them. So they jam and basically create an interference for the so that the signal can't get back to its reporting station. Now, it's being reported that thieves are using GPS jammers imported from China, which put out signals at the same frequency as GPS satellites, and thieves are stealing expensive cars, trucks carrying valuable loads. In addition to their fears that terrorists could use more powerful versions to disrupt air traffic. You would think, though, if people were smart, these trucks are not driving down roads that other trucks aren't traveling on. If they're jamming themselves, don't you think they would be jamming someone else? And at the same time, there could be a pattern developed to track these guys back to their source based upon the service that they've interrupted on other carriers, other people using GPS systems. So according to this article, the problem is that the signal from the satellites is extremely weak. It's equivalent to picking up the light output of a 25-watt bulb It's the equivalent of picking up the light output of a 25-watt light bulb on the satellite. So that means you only need a jammer with an output of about 2 watts to swamp up any signal from the GPS satellite over an area of a few meters. So apparently that's what they're using, and they're actually using jammers with much higher output wattage. So, hey, Trucker Tom out there, have you heard anything scuttlebutt on this? Heard any rumors on this, on thieves doing that to, in their process of stealing trucks and stuff now and loads? Love to hear from you on that. Okay, European browser ballot. Of course, Microsoft has had a big battle with the EU for a long time. And what's going to be happening now is there's a balloting system. So next time they have an update for Internet Explorer, the user is going to be presented with 5 choices: Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, or IE8. And there's an install or tell me more button below each of them. So this is part of the concessions that Microsoft has had to make to appease the European Union. And those of you that live in that area, you may be seeing this browser election come up on your PCs at some point here in the near future. All right, Seagate has introduced a 2 terabyte, 6 gig per second enterprise drive. And what's important about this is that as drives have gotten bigger, the reliability and performance on them have been to the point that many enterprise customers do not want to use them. Just because they're not built at the same standard as maybe a drive that you would get for your home computer. Enterprise type drives run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and just basically can't break and have to have a real high life expectancy. There's no reporting on how much this drive is going to cost, but I'm pretty excited about this because just recently I had one of my drives, my Drobo, go bad, and it was just a standard drive. So as I start replacing drives now on my Windows Home server and devices like my Drobo, I'm going to start buying an enterprise level hard drive that basically will have a lot longer life. At least that's the theory. So we'll see what happens with this. I'll keep you advised if we find out a price point on this in the future. All right, you guys know that I've got a Voodoo box. You guys know that I've had my Voodoo box before. I had my Roku box before that. I had my Apple TV. But it appears that Voodoo is being bought by Walmart. And Walmart is now going to get into the streaming movie service. And this is kind of exciting in itself. First of all, I didn't fully understand why Walmart wants to buy the Voodoo, but online shopping, access to videos and audio content that they have licensed to sell. They also are going to, it is reported that Voodoo is going to continue developing its entertainment information delivery channels, such as Voodoo apps. But besides that, not very many details except that it appears Walmart paid $100 million to the profitless Voodoo, and they're going to be taken up. So you'll probably see Voodoo boxes in Walmarts in the near future. All right, during CES, I told you guys that the new 64 gig SD cards were coming. Well, SanDisk has shipped its highest capacity SD card ever, the 64 gig SanDisk Ultra SDXC memory card. Is now available, $349. It looks like the price on this is a level 4 card. For those of you that have a I'm hitting a number here. Video recorders that use SD cards, make sure that you don't need a Type 4, 5, or 6. Make sure you're getting the right level card. They'll be able to write fast enough to these SD cards. So it's a level 4 card, 15 megs per second. Should be able to be used in most cameras that require an SD card for capturing your video. But 64 gigs, again, 64 gig card, $349. Okay, next up is called the leech plug. It disconnects when your gadget is charged. Does Ma Earth a favor. This article over on Engadget. And this is pretty cool, and I haven't heard about this company before. It's from TrickleStar, and what it does is when it gets done powering or charging a device, and it says, hey, that device is charged, it unplugs itself automatically. It detaches from the plug. So this is pretty cool. No price point on this, but they got a video of it over on the Engadget site. I have a link, of course, for you in the show notes. As well on Engadget, they are reporting about a video, actually not a video, but an interview that was done on 60 Minutes. I don't remember last time I watched 60 Minutes. It's probably been 10 years or more. But the Bloom Box is a power plant for the home, and this is making big news, and I kind of thought, okay, is this kind of hokey or is this the real deal? The folks at Bloom Box are saying that, and it's in those of you that are watching on Ustream, you can see how big it is by the guy holding it up. But apparently those two blocks can power the average high consumption American home. One block can power the average European home. And that's a claim being made by the founder of Bloom Energy. Now, for those of you that are skeptical about this, check this out. There are several companies already using refrigerator-sized Bloom boxes. The corporate size sell between 700,000 and 800,000, and are installed at as many as 20 customer sites, including FedEx, Costco, eBay, and a variety of other big Fortune 500 companies. But for those of you on Ustream, you can see how big the device is. And here's the amazing thing about this, and this is the thing that is important for all of you guys to understand about it, is this fuel cell feeds oxygen into one side of the cell, while fuel, being natural gas, biogas from landfill, waste, solar, etc., is supplied to the other side to provide the chemical reaction required for power. And this is where it really gets crazy. Remember Back to the Future? The cells themselves are inexpensive ceramic discs painted with a secret green ink on one side and black ink on the other. The discs are separated by a cheap metal alloy instead of more precious metal like platinum, and stacked into a cube of varying capabilities. A stack of 64 can power a small business like Starbucks. They're saying these are going to be, with time, the price is going to come down to do an average home for about $6,000. So, no, $3,000 is what it's going to. They're going to, within 5 to 10 years, going to drive the cost down to about $3,000 to make it suitable for home use. So we'll see what this company's onto. But I'd like to. I have to watch the video to get a better idea on how this thing really works. And I'm sure many of you will want to check this out as well. Now, when you go to college, don't you expect the professor to be encouraging the use of technology, taking good notes, doing good research? Well, if you go to a physics class at the University of Oklahoma, the professor there has a pretty strict policy. No electronics. Come with paper and pencil. That's it. And to prove his point, he took a defunct laptop, submerged it in liquid nitrogen, and then did a little experiment with it. So I think you guys will get a kick out of this as a YouTube video. It's probably went pretty viral by now. And you guys will have to go just check it out. I'm not going to tell you what happens when he with what he does with it, but you can imagine, just putting liquid nitrogen in the styrofoam container with the laptop is not that big of a deal. But what he does afterward makes an impression. Okay, I wonder if they had to call the hazmat team. Anyway, official FBI probing Pennsylvania school on the webcam spy case. The FBI is investigating a Pennsylvania school accused of secret activating webcams in student homes. The school has acknowledged that they remotely activated 42 webcams in the past 14 months, but they state they only did it to find missing student laptops. Families informed of the possibility webcams might be activated in their homes without the permission and paperwork students signed when they got the computers. It is clear what was in place was insufficient and unacceptable, the administrator there said. The district has suspended the practice, and they promised that the only thing that they got was still pictures and no audio. If my daughter was just gotten done taking her bath and was in her pajamas doing her homework, and the camera came on and took a picture of her by somebody on the other side, I would simply lose my mind. Someone's going to get arrested. The FBI is involved. We'll see what happens with this. We talked about it on the last show. Hey, over on designboom.com, great article about a software package that creates typeface by taking a picture of your face. So if you want to design your own typeface, all you got to do is download this application, take a picture of your face, and it designs a typeface basically in design of your face. Probably with me, with my big nose, I'm sure the software will have a lot of fun with it. But anyway, you guys can check that out. I'll have the link up to it in the show notes. Got another article on Gizmodo talking about the foolishness that Apple has been going through lately, talking about how they allowed the Sports Illustrated app to remain and yet remove a swimsuit catalog from the store. Gizmodo's got some images from the International Space Station of their new digs looking out the window. Pretty cool stuff, yes indeed. And I kind of was curious on how these covers that were covering the window, well, they can actually bring those up and actually seal the windows in case something something bad happens. So thought that was pretty interesting. So link is up in the show notes on that. good Wired article also about Spot. I've talked about Spot a number of times on the show, done interviews with them at a variety of events during Consumer Electronics Show, but showed how Spot was actually used in a test search and rescue effort. And I think you guys should check this video out. If you're an outdoorsy type and you go hiking, you really got to think about one of these products. You really do. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to point you guys at a website that I just fell in love with the design and the typeset that they're using. It's at njnnetwork.com. I have a link up to it in the show notes. I really like the typeset on this webpage. I really do. I like the layout. It's real easy on the eyes to read. It's a Canadian website. I'll have this linked up in the show notes. And they got some great articles. I've added it to my permanent read and subscription list. All right, let me go ahead and get into the voicemails tonight. I've got a couple of those. Let me turn the volume up here on the system so you guys can actually hear these. Hang on a second. Here we go on the first voicemail.
G'day, Todd. Shane from Australia, mate.
Hey, Shane.
Just finished listening to 549 and talking about Thunderbird 3. I'm a little bit perplexed at your comments and your listeners' comments. I'm running Thunderbird 3. I'm running a portable version of it. I've got it accessing my POP email account. Your listener said he couldn't get it to do POP. I know when you set it up and tell it to do the wizard and find, it automatically tries to look for IMAP, but you go and set up an account like you would any email client. I can choose POP. It's working beautifully. Folders. I've got folders that I sort stuff into and sort of stuff. I certainly don't hold thousands and thousands of emails like yourself. If an email is important to me, I'll shove it into Evernote and use Evernote to store that because it's a lot more easily searchable, I believe. But yeah, Thunderbird 3, I'm loving it so far. I certainly like the tabbed interface and the way it works. That's just my opinion. Cheers, mate.
Hey, thanks for the comments. And I'll be first to admit I have reverted back. I'm using the older version of Thunderbird. For one thing, I can't figure out how to when I forward an email, instead of having it paste directly into the web page, and then it's now putting in the email the forward as an attachment. I can't figure out how to reverse that. Someone tell me how to fix that. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's just I'm not impressed with the performance on it at all. It's got some bugs. I'll see what happens after they do a couple of updates, but yeah, I'm running the old version. Luckily, I installed Thunderbird 3 into an alternate directory, so I'm able to still run Thunderbird 2, which makes it nice. But yeah, thanks for your comments on that. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Definitely having a different experience on my side. Okay, here comes the next voicemail again. +1 619 342 7365.
Hello, Todd. This is Clint.
Hey, Clint.
From Houston, Texas. I'm enjoying the podcast a great deal. And on the last one of note, I really enjoyed the information about the HP Slate. And I think between the HP Slate and the iPad, there will be some real competition, and which is a great thing, a wonderful thing. Now, I think the idea of a flash drive 256 gig is a great idea. They just need to come down on the price a little bit before I go out and buy one, but it's good to see that flash drives are getting larger and larger all the time. And also, concerning your pizza delivery, Prankster, it's great if somebody wants to send somebody else a pizza, but they should pay for it, though, first. I must agree. So,
yeah, they should.
Anyway, I think that guy really had a lot of nerves by doing it while you're on the air, and that way you all but called out his name on the on your podcast, too. So, anyway, has he struck again?
No.
Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and enjoying the podcast, and keep it up. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks. Hey, and you know that definition I was trying to get earlier, the ACTA? It's the Anti-Counterfeiting Trade Agreement. Thank you, Mr. Dell. Someone put it up in the Ustream chat. Of course, I didn't have it. The one machine that was running the my backup died, so so much for a backup machine. All right, let me go ahead. And hey, Clint, thanks for the call, and appreciate the feedback as well. Got a few emails here tonight, not a lot. Let me go ahead and go into one that I missed from the previous show. This came from Pete in Albuquerque. He said, "Hey, Todd, just finished listening to show number 552 while out for a walk and just had to add my 2 cents on the iPad and ebook topic. First, let me say that I won't be an early adopter of the iPad, mainly because I find my iPod Touch to be the right form factor for me. I can have it in my pocket and available at all times. It has become my most frequently used device for staying connected, email, RSS feeds, podcast news, Facebook, etc. Oh, yes, and ebooks too. I find it to be a very suitable ebook reader despite its small size. I didn't need to shell out an extra few C notes for a separate device. Plus, it's a much more open ebook platform in that I have multiple e-reader apps, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Stanza, and they're all free apps. Stanza and Barnes & Noble provide access to thousands of free books, or I can choose to purchase books when I can't find a book on the Kindle app. I can go to one of the other and usually be able to find it. I say all this because despite Apple starting their own ebook store, the iPad will still have the other e-reader apps and access to those other stores. So it too will be much more open than the Kindle. You had a listener on the show that said he had multiple e-reader devices, and that seems to be a huge waste of money when an iPhone, iPod Touch, or iPad would most likely give the same access to multiple sources of ebooks at a lower overall cost. Again, Pete from Albuquerque. Hey, Pete, I do have a tendency to agree with you, but I think it's a function, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it's a function of age. I cannot imagine reading a book on my iPhone. It's bad enough having to wear glasses reading a normal book. And if I had to squint and read a book on that, I just don't think it would go over good. But if you're enjoying it, hey, more power to you. An email from Jim. He said, "Hey, Todd, this is a beautiful picture of the Space Shuttle Endeavour taking off. Gives me a link to it. I'll have this up in the show notes. This is absolutely a beautiful picture. And actually, on my laptop computer, I've actually replaced the current image I've got with this one. So keep sending me these great images, folks. They are nice." And I got an email from Natalie. He says, "Hey, the Pennsylvania school faces FBI probe lawsuit for using webcams on laptops to watch students at home." Yeah, we just talked about that. Thanks for sending that in, Natalie, as well. There was actually, I thought I had an email from Trucker Tom, but I don't think I must have not have copied it in here. Okay. Well, really, kind of quick on emails, quick on voicemails, and that's basically it, folks. I want to thank you for hanging out with me here for the last hour and 10 minutes or so. And as I get wrapped up tonight, I'll have the Skype Ohanasaurus online if anybody wants to call in for just a few moments while I've got some time as I'm wrapping up the show. But as always, I'll be here again with you on Thursday night for a live recording of the Geek News Central podcast. Of course, the show is released every Tuesday and Friday morning like clockwork, and we hope that you enjoyed the show today. And, of course, tell your friends about Geek News Central and tell them where to find this great show and sign up for it. Again, subscribe via iTunes, Zune Marketplace, or catch me via your favorite pod-catching device or application on your mobile device like your BlackBerry or iPhone, iTouch, whatever it may be, or Android. Lots of great apps out there to consume this content and many, many other shows. Make sure you check out the Roundtable. We're going to be putting that up on the techpodcast.com website here probably tomorrow. I've got that all finalized. I just need to do the blog post so you can check out the article with nuance. I'll let you know how the translation went in the show notes because that's probably where I'll give an indication of how that went tonight. And those of you on Ustream can hang out with me. But we'll see you next time here at Geek News Central. And, of course, I want to thank you for hanging out with me again. Until next time, take care and aloha.